to get a sense of the geography of their awareness. What are they avoiding and why? And you get some people that are very effective and very courageous and energetic, and you feel you understand them and they understand you, and you move forward quickly and you make progress and you feel great. And, everybody's egos is improved, but so is their lives. It's considered a good result. And then you get other people who are anywhere in the sort of dysfunctional spectrum, from mentally ill to traumatized or violent or something. And those people are difficult, and you feel you're not so successful and you're not collaborating. But the truth is that if that's part of the process, if I piss some client off and they leave telling me that I'm unprofessional or incompetent, maybe that's what I needed to do. I needed to show them that was the option, and they needed to decide to go there or not. It's not up to me to fix anybody. So ultimately, I tend to be an educator. I talk to them about what your brain waves do, and maybe they can get a handle on that. Talk to them about their diet. I talk to them about all these things that you're aware of. And some of them resonate. It's like they say, you sort of throw it on the wall and see what sticks. And some things don't. They'll take some suggestions and not others. And then when they leave, happily or otherwise, you kind of have to say, well, I did my best and my job is done.
Mhm.
And off they go in whatever direction they choose, hopefully somewhat informed by my information. So we're trying to make ourselves obsolete, deliver all we have to offer, and then leave the picture.
I could not agree more. I feel that way in my soul. Like, I feel like if I'm doing what I aim to do as well as I aim to do it, then the people that come to work with me won't need me after that because I'll have taught them so well how to care for themselves, right? That they won't need to come back to me. And I feel personally that that's what makes me feel like I'm doing something right. Here's what I love too is that, neurofeedback and brain training are deeply scientific. And when done well, they're also profoundly human. They invite humility, curiosity, and they invite the nervous system into the conversation. Lincoln, how do you see this work supporting not just symptom re-education, but deeper agency, awareness, and wholeness?
Well, that's kind of a big jump. How do I see it? Well, it's a question of becoming more aware, becoming aware of more, and becoming more aware of what you are aware of. I remember one client who had a history of heart problems, and I showed them the heart rate variability feedback, and the result was all over the map. They were not coordinated, and it made scientific sense that that was part of their problem. And it turns out heart rate variability, for most people, is very easy to learn because it involves some conscious things like breath and pulse, which you have some control over. And I don't actually remember whether this person balanced their heart rate variability in the short period we had, but it was clear that they could if they worked at it. So the technical side, which is only useful if it gives you some tool, could help them be more balanced, insightful, calm. And when you gain insight and depth and balance, you also gain the ability to go deeper into more dysregulation, either in you or around you or the people in your family. And although we say you can't change other people, you do change other people if you change yourself, because you sort of draw them forward or draw things out of them. If you have a hostile relationship with your parents and you become very calm and accepting, they'll tend to follow you, hopefully, in being more accepting and aware of themselves. And then changes happen slowly, not always. This is sort of the definition of mental illness. You're sane when you have some ability to calibrate yourself. You're not sane when nothing can be done to help you. And I'm talking about mentally, but physically is not all that different either. So, actually, I was listening to a podcast, a webinar on traditional Chinese medicine, and the practitioners were saying, food is the first thing you look at. What you eat is your medicine. And if you're not eating right, it can upset the whole system. Traditional Chinese medicine has a whole system of ranking and rating foods on their, qi and whatnot. And, that's like another technology, which I think can be an obstacle if it doesn't feel natural to you. So, but become aware. So you may not be particularly aware of your diet because you're concerned with your relationship. And once you deal with your relationship, you can become more aware of your diet. And it can change your life somewhat subtly. Drink more water. It can be a wise thing to say, or it can be a stupid thing to say, depending on what's the nature of your imbalance. So I would try to go to experience. I mean, I do educate people and I do try to develop some insight into quantitative measures, but science is not all it's cracked up to be. It's rather narrowly defined and often doesn't hit the spots that people need. So, I mean, I'm involved with quantum physics, which is a source of infinite frustration because you get lots of people who tell you what's going on and don't know. And ultimately, in all science, nobody knows. It's just today's theory. And often they don't want you to know, those who teach it, they don't want you to know where it fails, because then it all falls apart. So you can take these things like brainwaves, and I think mostly they're useful as metaphors, unless you're a researcher and you know how contrived the whole thing is. So for example, there is an approach to brainwaves that says certain brainwaves correspond to certain states of mind and body, and by training and balancing them, you can balance the states of minds and body. And there's another approach that says by mixing everything up and confusing everything, you kind of break the habits, and the system will then reestablish its balance so that the brainwave training is actually dysregulatory. And seriously, I mean, you listen to cacophonous brainwave entrainment, and then you relax, and hopefully your system recalibrates itself naturally. So there are different approaches, and there's different scientific explanations for each, and some of them stand up, and some of them are just horseshit. And it can be funny, you say, that doesn't make any sense. That's not even consistent. But you'll get a whole bunch of people who believe it and write papers about it and overlook the shortcomings. And okay, that's science, it's like, it's creative nonsense.
Where do you
Sometimes it
see
works.
neuroscience and consciousness meeting in your clinical practice?
Oh, I don't see them meeting very closely.